Shabbat Shalom. And welcome to Ormi, especially if it's your first time here for Shabbat service, and welcome to those who are joining us through the live stream at home. Tonight we have a special themed Shabbat. This is in coordination with congregations across the world through HIAS, which is a Jewish organization that originally was formed to help Jewish immigrants to America, but as the waves of Jewish immigration decreased and we started to see immigrants and refugees from other backgrounds, HIAS has kind of shifted its focus to helping in a broader sense. So that's our Shabbat tonight, and we're also going to overlap with sort of what's been going on in Ukraine connected to the topic of refugees. So why a refugee Shabbat? To be a Jew is to know the heart of a refugee. Jewish history begins with Abraham and Sarah in the Torah, leaving their home and going on an arduous journey to a land they did not know. As they took their first steps on this journey, Abraham and Sarah did not know that their descendants would later become known as the wandering Jews, as Jews traveled from one home to the next to escape famine and persecution throughout the centuries. Our spiritual ancestors first went down to Egypt to escape famine, then left Egypt in great haste to escape persecution. After making it through the wilderness and eventually establishing a home in the land of Israel, Jews were then exiled from this home, first by the Babylonians in the year 586 before the Common Era, then again in the year 70 of the Common Era by the Romans, who destroyed the Second Temple in Jerusalem. Since this period of exile began, the Jewish people have been refugees, expelled from land after land, kicked around the globe like a soccer ball. We Jews know the heart of a refugee. The refugee experience is not only a part of our history, it is a part of our present, as our global Jewish community continues to include those who were persecuted and forced to flee their homes in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. Tonight we think especially of the refugees from Ukraine, many of whom are Jewish, some of whom are Holocaust survivors as well. If you're interested in more materials, you can check out the JDC's social media, where I borrowed this picture from an interview with a woman named Natalia, who's 88 years old, and said, "It's hard to wrap my head around the fact that in 1941, I had to hide in the basement of this very building, and that now I'm going to have to do that again because of the Russian invasion." In 1948, in response to the Holocaust, the United Nations chartered the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Article 14 of this document declares, "Everyone has the right to seek and enjoy in other countries asylum from persecution." While the majority of today's refugees and asylum seekers are not Jewish, the Torah teaches us that we have a moral obligation to care for immigrants, refugees, and asylum seekers, our fellow human beings who have fled their homes, just as our ancestors did, to escape war, persecution, and hardship. Ve'ahavtam et hager, ki gerim heitem be'eretz Mitzrayim. You all shall love the stranger, for you all were strangers in the land of Egypt. So I'd like to invite up Lori and John to light our Shabbat candles this evening.
Beneath a broken street lamp, shards of glass and remnants of humanity linger on the sidewalk. A hungry child cries out for food. A widow walks with tears in her eyes, but in her heart there is still hope for peace.
When will the fighting end? Her children ask wearily. She answers patiently. When anger gives way to compassion, when hatred gives way to love, when darkness gives way to light.
Promise me one thing, my children. Promise me that you will always act in ways that fill the world with compassion, love, and light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Thank you, Lori and John. At this point in our service, we think of the week that has passed, and we hold on to all of the good things from this past week. So if you had an experience that inspired gratitude, if you have some good news to share, no matter how big or how small, I invite you to share that joy with the community now. Yeah, Beth?
My granddaughter turns 5 today.
Mazel tov. Happy birthday to your granddaughter. Yeah, Ron?
The whole civilized world seems to be united against the Russian invasion.
That we're seeing some positive, some encouraging news there. Bruce, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. So this is pretty appropriate since we're talking about immigration, immigrants. That Khalil, one of the gentlemen that we're sponsoring here, got his driver's license this week. His brother got it last week, so both brothers have the driver's license now. So that's a big thing.
So we're very excited to see that our Afghan refugee family is getting all the skills and tools they need to have a good life here.
Yes, so the last time Lori and I visited, Lori was visiting me, and now Lori and I are living together in Chester.
Awesome.
Close by, and that's it.
Congratulations on the shared home. So we thank God for all of these blessings, including the blessing of simply being alive for this moment in time with the words of Shehechianu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen. I'd like to invite up Kate to lead us in an English reading, a mother's prayer.
I hope that the day never comes that I will flee my country in pursuit of safety or a better life. I pray that if I do, it's not as a result of violence and that we don't have to leave our lives behind us with nothing but a bag and any remaining family members by our side. If circumstances ever forced us to flee, I hope that we are not called animals and treated as subhuman criminals simply because we want to live. Should it be so dire that we are forced to separate from our children with the hope that they would find a better, safer life, if it were so very bad that I would rather they leave me, go on their own in a new country with nothing but faith and hope in their pocket, I hope that the world will care for my precious children and not discard them or simply let them fall through the cracks.
And we continue with Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, ishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shemo tiferet v'litila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, peni Shabbat nikabela. Chadodi likrat kala, peni Shabbat nikabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor habracha, merosh mikadem nesucha, sof maaseh b'machshava tchila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, peni Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, peni Shabbat nikabela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, kiva orech kumi ori, uri, uri, shir daberi, kevod Adonai alaich nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala, peni Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, peni Shabbat nikabela. We rise together and face the entrance to symbolically welcome in the presence of Shabbat. We v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'b'tzola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, boi chala. Lecha dodi likrat kala, peni Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, peni Shabbat nikabela. And we remain standing for our official call to worship, the Baruch Hu. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. I'd like to invite up Beth Meixner to read an English reading.
Welcoming the stranger. You can sit with us. You can live beside us. You can play your music. You can listen to mine. We can dance together. We can share our food. We can keep an eye on each other's kids. We can teach each other new languages. We can respect traditions. We can build new ones. You can ask for a cup of sugar. You can ask for directions. You can tell me when things are hard. You can tell me when beautiful things happen. We can listen to stories. We can disagree. We can agree. We can come to understandings. You can wear what you want. You can pray as you feel compelled to. You can love who you want. You can sit with us.
Thank you. So you can sit with us and you can stand with us again for the Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Please be seated. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha, vidibarta bam, bishivtecha bevetecha, uvelechtecha vaderech, uvshochbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, vehayu letotafot beinenecha, uchtavtam hamezuzot beitecha, Uvisharecha Leman tizkeru Vasitem et kol mitzvotai Vitem kedoshim lelohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti adchem Me'eretz Mitzrayim Lihiot lachem lelohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. I'd like to invite up Pat to lead us in an English reading.
The mixed multitude. They weren't Israelites, our neighbors down the way, but they were slaves like us. I asked their son if he could keep a secret. He nodded, so I told him what my mother told me. We are leaving Egypt tomorrow, all of us. Pharaoh has abused us long enough, and we're not gonna take it anymore. I've already packed my bag. There's actually nothing in it except a day's supply of matzah. We don't have time or money for anything more. Can I come too? Asked the neighbor boy. I'll ask my mom, I said. Instead of a simple yes or no, I got a whole lecture. But my mother is right. Your freedom is the same as my freedom. Yes, we are all in this together. We cannot march to the promised land alone.
Thank you. And we continue with Micha Mocha. Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai Micha mocha nedar b'kodesh Nora tehilot Tosefele, Nora tehilot Tosefele. We continue with Bishamru. Bishamru b'nei Yisrael et לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת דורותם ברית עולם. It's on us. It was on us from the moment our ancestors were first forced to leave home, charged with transforming their wandering into a blessing for all people. It has been on us since that wandering became encoded in our DNA, from Avram HaIvri, Abraham, the one who crossed over, to HaIvrim, the Jewish people, all of us inheriting the legacy of centuries of crossing from one home to another. As our people became a refugee people, we took on the sacred responsibility to see our story as bound up with the stories of all who continue to wander. Please rise for our central prayer, the Amidah. Adonai sefatai tiftachu via gita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot, Umevig Ula Lifnei V'nehem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Hozer U'Mashiach U'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah. Tagibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol, Atarav Lehoshia, Mechayim Bechesed, Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabbi. Oflim Ve'rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit Umechayei, Umatmeach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'chayot ha'kol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei ha'kol. Please be seated. We continue with a quiet moment for personal prayer or reflection. If that wasn't quite loud enough, you can go back and watch the videos later, or I can try replaying it now. It's not showing up on the screen, but basically there's some clips from the JDC's social media where you can kind of see Jews who are living in Ukraine and their responses to this situation. And all the links are in the email that you received this morning. So we continue our service with a prayer for peace. Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. Okay. So at this point in our service, we think of loved ones who are in need of healing. Tonight we think especially of Alyssa Freeman, Beth Levine, Rabbi Jerry Levy, Jean Sanders. Are there other loved ones whose healing we wish to pray for tonight? And with the power of community, we pray for their refuah shlema, their complete healing of body and or spirit, with the words of Misha Berach, which we'll do from memory tonight. Misha Berach avotenu mikor habracha with the source of strength, who bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishe berach imotenu, mekor habracha. Spirit, and let us say, Amen. 13 years ago, I moved to Jerusalem for my first year of rabbinical school. One of my classmates in this international program was a woman named Yulia, who spoke Russian, Hebrew, English, and a few other languages, as is common among many Europeans. Even with some linguistic and cultural barriers, I could tell that Yulia was a force to be reckoned with. She was smart, funny, and incredibly determined. I really admired how she managed a full course of rabbinical studies while raising her daughter Isolda completely on her own. I had no doubt that Yulia would go on to be an incredible rabbi and a gift to any Jewish community that she would serve after ordination. After that first year in Jerusalem, Yulia and I have lived continents apart, but I have been privileged to see little glimpses of her life and career through Facebook over the years. In 2016, Yulia began working as the rabbi at Shirat Hayam in Odessa, Ukraine. Her adorable little sidekick, Isolda, has blossomed into a young Jewish leader in her own right. For the last few years, I have enjoyed seeing pictures of Yulia and Isolda leading Odessa's progressive Jewish community in holiday celebrations, tech studies, and mitzvah day activities. While these posts are usually captured in Ukrainian, the smiles in her photos need no translation. But last week, I started to see a different type of post. These posts were not from Yulia. These posts were about her and my other rabbinic colleagues serving in Ukraine. As the Russian forces moved in, the rabbis of Ukraine had to make some difficult decisions. Should they stay and risk being killed, or should they try to escape before things got worse? Should they encourage their congregants to flee, especially when only women and children were allowed to leave the country, while all Ukrainian men were being conscripted into a makeshift army? They did not have much time to deliberate before the violence escalated. Based on the Jewish value of pikuach nefesh, or saving lives, Yulia and Isolda opted to flee on foot to Poland. Among the few supplies they brought with them were a cell phone, a prayer book, and laptop, so that they could still lead Shabbat services for their community over Zoom. This way, the whole community, those who had to stay in Ukraine and those who fled to Poland, Moldova, or Slovakia, would still be able to join together virtually and support each other through this crisis. On the first night of their journey, Yulia and Isolda slept outside in below freezing temperatures. Then they waited another day at the border, with thousands of other people all fleeing for their lives. At one point, communication stopped as Yulia's cell phone battery was depleted. Many of my rabbinic colleagues and I breathed a sigh of relief upon seeing her post a new Zoom Shabbat recording this week. It is difficult to wrap my mind around these facts as we enjoy our Shabbat service here in our sanctuary and know that we will all get to sleep safely in our own beds later tonight. I pray that Yulia, Isolda, and all the people of Ukraine will have the same opportunity again soon. But I know that prayer alone is not enough. We often read before the Amidah, our central prayer, "Pray as if everything depends upon God, but act as if everything depends upon you." Conflicts like these can feel so overwhelming that we may erroneously conclude that we are powerless to do anything. But there are people and organizations who are already in Ukraine and its neighboring countries ready to help the refugees as well as those who stayed in Ukraine. I included links in this week's Shabbat information email to two such organizations in case you would like to join me in making a donation to support their efforts. These two organizations include the local Jewish Federation and the Joint Distributions Committee, which is a Jewish global humanitarian organization. Both of these organizations have been working in Ukraine for a number of years. In quiet times, they have helped with things like putting together a community Passover Seder or delivering meals to impoverished Holocaust survivors. But during the current crisis, they have needed to step up and do so much more. As I read this week's Torah portion, the last portion in the book of Exodus, I was reminded of how important it is for us to be there for each other in good times and bad. When our Israelite ancestors fled persecution in Egypt, they had to journey through the wilderness for a long time. And during this journey, they often felt scared and uncertain. In response, God decided to reassure them with the sign of divine presence, whether it was day or night. During the day, when it was easy to see the path ahead of them, God would be present with the community through a special cloud of smoke. But at night, when it was darker and colder and more difficult to see what lay ahead, God would increase the supportive presence and appear as a strong pillar of fire. Right now is a crucial time for us to emulate God. We need to move from the delicate cloud to a strong pillar of fire that burns brightly for our friends in Ukraine and gives them the strength to keep going. When it looks like the world is ending, let us remember the traditional phrase recited upon finishing a book of the Torah. To fight against despair, we always say, Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek, meaning be strong, and let us strengthen one another. May we rise to meet the needs of our fellow Jews and human beings in this moment and embody what it really means to support and strengthen one another. And let us say, Amen. I'm going to play the audio. I don't think it'll show the visual, but. So I'd like to invite up Sarah to share some announcements.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
So here's what's going on. It looks like we have Torah study tomorrow at 11 a.m. That is in person. There's also a virtual option. The Orami Book Club is happening at 7 p.m. on Monday, March 7th. The book is Gateway to the Moon by Mary Morris. This is all virtual, but again, that's 7 p.m. on Monday if you want to join. Let's see. Tuesday, March 8th, there will be an introduction to Judaism with Rabbi Ahuva, and that is from 7 to 9 p.m. It is over Zoom. It's how I came to Orami, so you guys should definitely do it. It's a great class. Let's see. Torah study next Saturday also. And the Purim service is coming up. We encourage you guys to wear costumes, get wacky with it. It's also going to be welcoming in the newer members over the past, COVID time. So definitely make sure that you come out and show your support and spirit for that. That's going to be, is it Thursday or Friday? Friday, March 18th. Perfect. Yes, I see that. Shabbat service. Yep. And let's see. There's also a superhero Purim celebration at the WJCC from 12 to 3 on Sunday, March 13th. And that looks pretty much like it's it. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Sarah. Oh, thank you. We continue our service together with Aleinu. Please rise for the Aleinu prayer. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latet gdula leotze breshit, shelo asanu kigoye haratot, velo samanu kemishpachot harama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol haolam, va'anachnu gorim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu, ne'emar, v'haya Adonai, lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yiyeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. At this point in our service, we think of loved ones who have passed away recently or at this time in years past. Tonight, we remember with love the yahrzeits of Francine Anatrella, sister-in-law of Nicole and Heather Rossi, Sidney Dorfman, grandfather of Terry Crosby, Jane Dribbin, sister of Ellen Hoffheimer, Mario Escobar, father of Victor Escobar, Ruthann Goldsmith, wife of David Goldsmith, Harry Matz, grandfather of Art Matz, Nathan Nordell, father of Maxine Hadley, Genevieve Reich, grandmother of Marcia Hansel, Rabbi Ben Romer, late husband of Karen Romer and former rabbi of Oremy, Louis Silverman, grandfather of Deborah Cohen, Samuel Simon, grandfather of Alex Simon, Helen Whitaker, aunt of Grace Silverstein, and Johanna Zuckerman, grandmother of Beth Meixner. Are there other loved ones we wish to remember tonight?
Joe Scudell, was a cousin, and Bill Phillips.
Zichronam Livracha, may their memories always be a blessing. We stand as a community of support for the mourners Kaddish. Yit Gadal, V'yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, B'yalma Divrach Hirute, V'yamlich Malchute, B'chayechon Uvyomechon, Uvchaye Dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala Uvizman Kariv, V'imru Amen. Yehe Shmei Rabbah Mevarach Le'olam Olomei Almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha brichu le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort for those who are bereaved. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated. We conclude our service tonight with Lechi Lach. Lechi lach to a land that I will show you. Lech lecha to a place you do not know. Lechi lach on your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing, and you shall be a blessing, and you shall be a blessing. Lechi lach, lechi lach, and I shall make your name great. Lech lecha, and all shall praise your name. Lechi lach, to the place that I will show you. Lesimchat chaim, lesimchat chaim, lesimchat chaim, lechi lach. And you shall be a blessing, and you shall be a blessing, and you shall be a blessing, lechi lach. Thank you to Patricia for playing tonight, and thank you to everyone who read and had other honors in the service. If you'd like to join us in the back for Kiddush and Motzi, that would be wonderful. Shabbat Shalom.